UX New Zealand. How are we doing? Wow, that was a great response. I've always dreamed of doing like a conference talk with the clicker. I've seen it a lot on the TED Talks, and I'm finally like, this is my moment. I have my clicker. It's so good. I want you all to do me a favor. I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to say, I want you to say, neighbor. Nice and loud, come on, neighbor. The fun is just beginning. All right, now I want you to turn to your other neighbor and say, second choice neighbor. It's okay. The fun is just beginning. For the next 29 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about how to measure and improve your user experience post go live. Okay, so how to measure and improve your user experience post go live. So picture this, journey with me. You've just been working on an epic UX project. You've done your customer research, your stakeholder interviews. Maybe you've workshopped with Ruth on collaboration. Maybe you've just done a sprint with. Oh no, I'm going to forget people's names here. You've just done this amazing sprint with Lisa, and you've hypothesized, you've done this. Maybe you've just done a big journey map, and then you've gone right through the process through where you sketch and you prototype and you wireframe and you prototype and you test your prototype, and then then you go through legal and you go through brand and you go through all these stakeholders, and then you work with devs and you finally build what you think is this masterful user experience. And then there's this sweet moment just before you go live, and you just revel in the UX goodness. And then sure enough, you work with some devs, you push your new user experience live. Maybe it's an app, maybe it's a web app or a widget or a calculator, whatever. And you push it live, and then boo! Celebration! High fives all around, UX, what up? This is how we do it. But for me, what I want to picture is this point here where you're like, woo, yeah, what up? Let's do this. It's like that there is where I want to say, you're just warming up. The fun is just beginning. Because at that point, I get really excited, because to me, as soon as we go live, that's the point that we can have some of the most biggest and amazing impacts on our user experience. You see, up until you go live, you've researched, you've hypothesized to what you think is a good user experience, but only until it's actually live do we see how well it is actually performing. And so, and I love this, because I was chatting with someone just yesterday, and we were saying, a lot of us in UX, we've all come from a range of different backgrounds, and we've found ourselves in UX generally because we're the ones that give a shit. We are the ones that actually care. We're the ones that go, no. Let's not assume that we know what our customers want. Let's actually ask them. Let's actually talk to them. We are the ones that care. The other day we had a kickoff meeting for just like a normal project kickoff. We're doing around the room, introducing ourselves, and I have the privilege of working with some of the best minds in the UX business. And a colleague, Jess, we did the around the room. She said, "Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a UX consultant, and I'm here to bring the human side of things." It's like, oh, I just love that. She's like, I'm gonna go into bat for the people, and we're working with this big project. She's saying, I'm here, and I'm gonna fight for what the users want. And I just love that. We're the ones that care. We're the ones that get this. And because you're the ones that get this, that's why you're going to love this talk, because it's a big chance for you to have a massive impact on your user experience. All right, that was the first slide. Why post-go live optimization? I just said that. Let's get into it. To do post-go live UX, it starts with measurement. Measurement, data. Crispian basically did this talk better than I can do it, so she's already laid the foundation wherever you are, Crispian. Thank you. It's beautiful. But But measuring your UX allows us to tell a better story to the organization. So much of post-go-live UX hinges on shifting the way we do our projects. It hinges on shifting the way we think about improving user experience. We need to shift the way our organizations are structured in order for UX to become this continuous thing, to become part of the organization's DNA. In order to do that, in order to get there, you've got to be able to tell the story, and you've got to be able to tell the story of the business. So when it comes to measuring your user experience, where do we start? We start with knowing your organization's goals. As UXers, it's often our mission to have this deep, deep understanding of our users. We want to know their motivations and their barriers and what drives them and what they're afraid of and the context of their lives and how they interact with things. We do all this and we design research to understand that. But unless you understand your organization and the industry, you're never going to be able to join the two. So you've got your organization's objectives and you've got your users' objectives. And as UXers, we're this wonderful conduit in the middle. And we go in and we represent the users and the organizations and we find the balance. We fight for the balance, and it's absolutely beautiful. So once you know your organization's goals, then we identify the UX factors that achieve your organization's goals. I'm going to give examples, etc. Okay, identify those factors that are driving those your organization's goals. And then it's our job to design research to benchmark your user experience. This is I feel like this is kind of like UX in a nutshell. It's the ability to design research. One, it starts with asking smart questions. And then it's our ability to design research to answer those questions. So, actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to give you guys a few examples of these sort of 3 slides that we just hooned over. And of the work at Springload. Epic place, just is blowing my mind. It's been amazing. We recently started doing work with the Inland Revenue, with IRD. Now, this was my first project in the public sector, and just blew my mind as to the complexity of government and just that incredible world. And we ended up talking about benchmarking the UX project we're working on. And then someone said, "Don't worry, there's someone's done this before you." And they put me in touch with a little thing called GovUK. Anyone here heard of GovUK? Okay, so this was new to me. Don't judge me. And I just was frothing. I was like, oh my goodness. So I want to encourage you, if you don't know, and even if you do know, just Google gov.uk, measuring success, and just read about their benchmarking process. The way they literally walk you through how they calculate metrics. You can view 792 dashboards of how their departments are performing against these benchmarks. It's incredible. And I'm like, how are we going to do this with IRD? And then I think, gov.uk is over 2 million people in the public sector. That's pretty much half our country. And they've managed to get them to benchmark their work. So I'm like, if they can do it, we can do it. So let me just froth off this for a bit. I want to just talk about these 4 metrics. I just couldn't go past these as an example. So that first one, cost per transaction. Very simple metric, very powerful around the boardroom. If you're in a SaaS-style startup, this is often your customer acquisition cost. Businesses live and die by this metric. And then, very simple transaction. You take all of the costs that it takes to operate your staff, to keep the lights on, etc., and then you basically divide that by the number of transactions. Et voila, you have your cost per transaction. And then you can track that, how you're going along. But then that can be a really dangerous metric to do UX to, because you could just crush your users and drop costs. So the next metric we have here is user satisfaction. This is basically like a net promoter score style, 2 questions on a feedback page, and then you can take these qualitative questions and you can go, well, we can look at the last 3 months of what our average sort of user satisfaction is, and then we can look at that compared to the previous 3 months. Go, okay, how are we tracking? Or maybe we track it against the year before and we go, year on year, this is our growth. We're telling a story to the business that we are keeping our customers happy, and that's how we'll sell in more UX. Completion rate. Oh, it's so good. I just love this stuff. This is your bread and butter. As UXers, this is like saying people started here, and then this is the number of people that actually completed their task. So as UXers, we research, we dive in, we go, this is ambiguous. How can we make this clearer? Given their context, how can we make this more relevant? What's distracting them? How can we, all our sort of heuristics, and we develop this wonderful research. And at the end of it, we should be able to say, this many people started here, and this many people converted it. We came and we did our process. We started from the bottom, now we're here. That's what we want to be able to do, but we want to be able to do it specifically. Here was the bottom metric, and now here's where we are. Digital take-up. To so many businesses, digital take-up represents lower operating costs, but it represents a better user experience. We did a bunch of research, and it basically showed with some clients, I won't name names, but they basically said, we found out a lot of people are calling up because the website was unclear. They were on the website trying to do a task, and they're going, I was a bit confused. There was content that repeated itself, so I just picked up the phone. We actually saw that in an example earlier. So digital uptake is this wonderful correlation of you're doing a good user experience because people are opting to do it all via digital, and you've communicated clearly. You've appeased their anxiety. Maybe you've even delighted them. Am I the only one that gets this excited about data stuff? I just love it. So let's do a real life example now. Te Tumu Pairoa is a wonderful organization. They approached Springload a couple of years ago. Classic. We need a website. And we're like, well, do you really need a website? Or let's actually have a talk about that conversation. Let's actually talk about what your users actually want. And actually, we'll talk about that. So TTP has this wonderful high-level goal of connecting people with their land. They help govern land, and they help invest in the land so that the landowners get a return, and they want to help Māori people govern their land for generations to come. And it's this beautiful, high-level goal. But then our job is, like I said in that process, is to break it down to the UX factors that drive these goals. So we workshop with them, hey, what does success look like? Just like Crispian talked about. We worked out, again, this goes a level deeper, but increased digital engagement. This is where the conversation is happening with their customers, and it's so important that they're there, and we increase that engagement because that's ultimately going to correlate to success. Decreasing call center inquiries. Again, people are calling up because the website was unclear. Increasing new and happy customers. Unfortunately, we die. So we need to bring in new customers, and we need happy customers. Happy customers means retention. And again, if your organization is not able to acquire and retain customers, you will die as an organization too. And then you'll really die. And of course, the project's got to go well. So how do we do? Website goes live. We check in later. I run the numbers, and I go, all right, not bad. We decreased call center inquiries by 8%. Now, this is where as UXers, you look at a stat like that, and you go, so what? This is where we ask smarter questions, and so we did. The fun was just beginning. I just looked at that, and I was like, we can do a lot better than that. Come on. So what? So we dive into the data. We ask more questions. We do more research, and we go, okay, turns out for every category, we dropped inquiries apart from one. Bingo! That's where we go next. How can we make that content clearer? What exactly are the users looking for? What functionality can we build? Where does that conversation take place? How can we do better UX? The fun is just beginning. So, okay, let's move on. Increase in website lead generation. Okay, now we're doing a little bit better. We saw a 29% increase in lead generation. It's such a joy to tell the story to the business, especially when we're pitching to do more UX work. This is what I'm talking about. You've got to be able to tell that story. But again, we go, so what? So very simple phenomenon where people are able to do better refined searches, they get better results, and they're more likely to take your desired action. That's why e-commerce hinges so much on trying to get you to refine your search. But here, we dove in, and it was like, okay, we see of those people that are converting, what was their behavior? And so here, we kind of, again, just so many questions, but basically segmentation revealed that the increase in leads came from an increase in searches for property and unclaimed money. But again, I look at that and I just go, so what? We can go deeper. There's more questions. As UXers, I honestly believe, I have to say, it's like judge a UXer by their questions. There's a famous quote that says, judge a person by their questions and not by their answers. My version of it says, judge a person by their questions and their shoes. Some of you just looked at my shoes. Don't judge me. So again, we ask more questions. I look at that and I think, well, of those searches, did they find the results that they wanted? Did they find, what were they searching about? How can we make that experience better? How can we provide better answers? How can we refine that search process? There's so much value we can add there as UXers. The fun is just beginning. So increase in mobile sessions. I know this is like really obvious, but mobile, man, why? Start mocking things up in mobile first. Mobile is just huge, but this was the engagement that TTP was looking for. They're like, our conversation is happening on social and mobile, and now we're there. And this is the sort of insight that drives that kind of strategy where they're going, yes, but that's the sort of insight where we go, we're just warming up. This is now laying a foundation for a strong strategy of engaging with our customers. We're telling a better story. So another example here, we got asked to make a calculator or design a calculator for a bank in Australia. And this was like a refinance, like move your loan to us and you could save a bunch of money. A very interesting proposition. So we designed this calculator, we battled a lot with legal, calculator goes live. Post go live, we're like, yeah, it's not really performing as well as anyone would have liked. So what do? We ask more questions. So again, we go, okay, well, it's not performing as well as we like. Well, how's it performing on desktop versus how's it performing on mobile? How's it performing with organic traffic in the context of what they might be searching for versus people that came from the homepage versus people that came from the paid media? What about the people that did convert? What was their behavior beforehand? How did they engage with the tool? There's just so many questions. I'd probably segment the view of this calculator maybe 80, 100 plus times, just asking questions. Every time I'm just trying to build up this mental picture of how are people engaging with this tool. And we segment. Averages lie. This is our job as UXers, as digital, as we're getting personal. How can we understand their unique journey? So anyway, profound sort of insight was that the reason people want to refinance their loans, well, this is my hypothesis, is because they can save money. Thank you, I'll be here all night. It seems really obvious, but for some reason, when we looked at the page, we were talking about credit cards and ATMs, and I'm like, no, the reason people have come to this page because we've lured them in with the value proposition of you can save money. This is a distraction. And so simple post-go live UX, we went, well, this is causing anxiety for our users. We're overwhelming them with information when we simply want to educate them about the fact that they can save money. So and the beauty of this was really light. We basically just removed a heap of stuff. So from a dev point of view, it's not a lot of work to, and the other cool thing was we said to legal, look, we didn't get sued. It's all right. Maybe we can cut that. You can see that big wad of text up there. I'm sorry, I'm not able to give like data points on this for like privacy reasons, but I can tell you, this stuff works. Post go live, the fun is just beginning. So, improving your user experience post go live. So that was my kind of rant about the measurement side of things. We've got to be able to tell better stories. We've got to be able to sell this in. We've got to talk the business language, like Crispian said. So what I want to do here is I want to talk a little bit about the security of an awesome process. I love this. The pros use processes. If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know it well enough. Not to say be a slave to the process, but I feel like the process can give us some freedom. So what I want to talk about now is anyone here currently doing live testing, like running A/B or split tests or multivariate tests? Show of hands. Oh yeah, there's a few. This here is where there's, I skip that. Live testing is I feel like it's a really underutilized tool in the tool belt because there's a lot of misconceptions and there's a lot of poorly designed tests. So I want to just debunk a few misconceptions about live testing, but there's three main things that I want to pull out here. One is we do this incredible UX process. And like I said, I get to work with some brilliant UX minds and brilliant UX and UI designers. And we come up with so much research, so much insight, and then so much of it gets left on the table. We make all these decisions kind of in-house, and we end up having one version that goes live, and then what happens to that research? It just gets left there. We work with some of the world's best designers, and they're like, should we do it like this or like this? We could do it like this. And I work with some of the best copywriters, and the copy they craft, and then that ends up getting canned. I'm like, there's so much possibility here to improve the UX, and we're just leaving it on the table. I want to encourage you to take all of that research and build a pipeline where you're testing that. And I believe one of the tickets to that is to do actual live testing with actual usage. So here's a little piece of framework from an organization called Wider Funnel. They really do some really clever tests. But what I want to notice here is this little design of experiments. This little thing, they call it DOE, design of experiments. So we have a couple of sort of, I look at testing like a scale. So at this end of the scale, we have very controlled test, which is where we send half your traffic to the original, we send half your traffic to a variation. And on that variation, we only really change one element. Let's say we change the heading. So we send half the traffic to the original, half the traffic to the heading. Now the beauty of that is we then analyze the results and we can go, okay, great. We can see the impact that heading has on user behavior. And so it's cool because it's isolated, but the problem with that is it's often a waste of time. Often it takes so long to run a test, and unless your test is targeting or challenging motivations or addressing barriers, you're not really going to see much results in user behavior. And if you're running your test to some vanity metric like time on site, it's just a waste of everybody's time. If you're testing button color, and it's those misconceptions that ruin what could be a really powerful tool. There's a reason the digital heavy hitters sort of like live and die by their testing programs. The Airbnbs and Dropbox, their case studies online are amazing. The Facebook continuously testing, continuously live testing. And so at the other end of the scale, we have like wholesale test changes. So this is where you're sending half your traffic to the original, the control, and then half your traffic, it might be you might go, let's redo all of the content. We'll put a video in there instead. We're going to remove the side nav. Then we're going to remove the next 3 pages of a process. And it's this yard sale change. Everything must go kind of vibe. But the problem with that is you go and say the experience was increased or decreased in terms of what you're measuring to. You don't know what caused it. Some things might be better, but some things might be worse. So we have this design of experiments, and it's this somewhere between the scale. And as UXers, I want to challenge you to design smarter tests, design smarter split tests. And I want to give you now a real-life example of a more refined test. This is a client called BCITO, and they run apprenticeships across New Zealand, New Zealand's largest apprenticeship sort of supplier. And they have this really key page called /apprenticeships. And so what we decided, it's a very long form page, and we're trying to understand the content and the journey that this takes people and the role that this content plays in conversion. So we designed a test where we take their control, their original page, and then the variation, we removed a bunch of content. We removed why do an apprenticeship, we removed tips for getting a job, and a whole bunch of other things. And then we sent half the traffic to the original, half the traffic to the variation. And this is how the test ran. So we ran it to 3 sort of goals. That's just part of the setup. I'll explain more in a moment. But registration form submissions, we see that the original, well, basically we see the consolidated version converted slightly higher. This is not what we call statistically significant, but just ignore that for the moment. Exactly the same number of people that clicked on the 0800 tell click. It's interesting, session duration, a little bit of a vanity metric, but it all helps build that picture. Why does a shorter page have a longer time on site? Interesting. So again, what do we do as UXers? we ask better questions. And this is the joys of a properly configured test. You're not going, oh, didn't win, throw that out. We ask better questions. So I look at this, and because the test was properly configured by myself, I can then segment that literally an infinite number of ways. So I go, well, yeah, it performed better, but how did it perform with just mobile traffic? How did it perform with the context of organic traffic? How did it perform with people that engaged with the video versus people that didn't engage? And again, I'm building up this sort of mental picture that I feel like currently only the human brain can do. And I'm building up this understanding of this experience and the role that this content might play. I'm applying a lot of empathy here. I have this thing where I look at it and I go, every piece of data, every session, every user, I'm like, that's a real person with fears and hopes and dreams, and they might have a baby crying in the next room, or like Julie said, they might be on the side of the road with adrenaline kicking in or wearing off as they're trying to fill in an insurance form. Just the empathy side of things with the data. So this is some of the cool stuff we found, is that the original version had fewer clicks to the original version had more people like clicking back home and to contact us and not really where we want them to go. And then in hindsight, what we did have is on the shorter page, more people clicking out to trades. Now for BCITO, they have an obligation to the trades to get more people into trades. So this was a big win for the organization. We had, oddly, less people went into the sort of the check-in, the registration form, but more of them converted. So we had a higher quality traffic. We had a less overwhelming page. And this is from one simple kind of like, I was kind of like, hey, can I, I'm trying to just educate them almost about testing. I want to tell that story. But when it comes to your UX work, there is so much hypotheses, so many ideas. And like was talked about yesterday, it's like, this is your chance to be a little bit creative. This is what we call like the puppy dog close. Like, it's just a test. Just let us try it out. If you're struggling to sell it in, say, hey, look, well, let's test that. I love that mentality, and I want to encourage you to run smarter tests. So as we sort of wrap this up, that's what I want to inspire you to do, is to tell a better story, to measure your user experience. And ultimately, if we really care about UX, the dream, the goal is continuous UX, shifting our organization's thinking so they're fully human-centered organizations. And one of the ways we're going to do that is by telling better stories, by asking better questions, by continuously learning. I want to encourage you all to the fun is just beginning. You are just warming up. Next time that project goes live, I want to challenge you. Are you excited to see the impact that your UX is actually going to have on your users? And have you designed a way to measure that? Big challenge, but I know it comes from almost like a marketing, I come from a marketing sort of background, and it's like, if you're not excited about your next campaign or something, everyone's going to be bored. No one's bored. Let's not do boring UX. Let's delight people. Let's be so good at our jobs that people don't even see our handiwork. So silent. Love it. I feel like it's so good. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you all.